Hey, it's Emily Williams, the founder of I Heart My Life and your host of the I Heart My Life show. This is episode 67, How to Know If You're Holding Yourself Back. Some real talk. I have James Williams here with me today. We are fresh off of our first big live event, I Heart My Life Live, and we are sharing some real talk with you to really understand whether you're holding yourself back from going to that next level. And I have to admit that this episode actually works on two levels. It's perfect for you if you are being subtle about what it is that you're selling and you want to really break down all of the walls, stop being subtle, and tell people about what it is that you have to offer. And it also works if you're someone who might be holding yourself back. Maybe you have a hunch that you're not necessarily stepping into your greatness in the way that you know you can and you should. So we're going to talk a little bit about what makes our clients, the most successful ones, the most successful. We're going to share some insider information about what David Neagle, who was one of our speakers, told us on the second day of the event to help us get out of our own way and serve more of our attendees in a different way. And I got to tell you, he gave some real talk. His language is a little bit different than ours, but it was something that really gave us a bit of a slap in the face and a wake-up call around the fact that life truly is too short to be subtle. So let's go ahead and dive in. So James, welcome.
Hi.
I'm excited to be doing this call together, fresh off our very first I Heart My Life Live.
Yeah, right. Absolutely amazing. So much value for both of us and everyone there. And it's really awesome to talk about it. And I know there's a million things we could talk about from this event, but I think what we're going to talk about today is hugely valuable.
Definitely. So we obviously observed a lot at the event, and we were blessed to have speakers at the event who have run tons of their own experiences, workshops, events, retreats. And so they were there in support of us and our vision and all of the attendees as well. And so it was really incredible to get their perspective and get their support along the way. And one of the things that we discussed and that we'll discuss here today with David Neagle was the difference between the people who take action and those who come to an event but don't actually do anything. And one of the things that we really tried to stress at the event is that when we leave the event, our life is going to go back to normal in the way that we've created it, which is pretty extraordinary. But for all the attendees, they have to start taking some action and be able to make a change in their life in the room that's going to apply to their life outside of the room. And so anyway, we're not going to get into that this second, but we were talking a bit about the difference between the person who does make that change and the one who doesn't. And so I know that's why we're here today.
That's right. And I think ultimately that change is a commitment, right? It really is. What does it mean to make a commitment rather than just intend to take action?
Great. And so let's frame this a little bit. So one of the things that you and I deliberately decided is to have incredible team members at the event to support all of the attendees in making decisions. And we're very obvious and upfront about the fact that there are ways in which our attendees can work with us. We have our incredible I Heart My Life Mastermind. We have courses. You and I both have one-on-one work. And so we said at any point throughout the event, all of our attendees have an opportunity to go to the back of the room, talk to our team, and literally just be fully supported in understanding what their next step was. And you and I were both like, this is incredible. We have all these amazing coaches in the back of the room. People are literally going to get supported and have that hand-holding experience that they're craving so they know they don't have to play the guessing game. And so we thought, you know what, this is a really great decision to have these people here and people are going to take full advantage of it. At least that's what I thought. What did you think?
Yeah, I thought that would be an amazing opportunity. I think there's always, from having gone to a lot of events, there's always the understanding that there are going to be some people that might be threatened or might be scared, and so there was definitely an element of that. But like you, knowing the amazing people that we attract, I definitely thought, you know what, they're at least going to have a conversation.
Exactly. And I think it's important to say that you and I are the people who have the conversation. So even if I'm in that place of, oh, I don't have the money to work with somebody, but if I'm being called, or if I feel curious, or if I want support and understanding how to get to the next level, I will at least have the conversation. So I know what's on the table, what's available for me, and I at least will speak to somebody who's steps ahead of me to get a clear indication of where I'm going.
That's right.
And so when we got to day 2 of our event, we had an incredible day, lots of beautiful speakers, very powerful material. And that evening was our VIP reception, which was super fun. All of our speakers got to be there, as well as our VIP attendees. It was in this beautiful space with fireplaces. The champagne was flowing. And you had a personal conversation with one of our speakers, David Neagle. And that's exactly why we're here today. We're going to talk about what he said to you and the impact that it had on our audience. So can you go ahead and share that with the listeners?
Yeah, right. I mean, framing it and understanding that David's someone with a lifetime of experience, has been at many events that he's attended and hosted. And so he knows how to read a room. He understands the human psychology between, of action taking and excuses, and understands, what he sees as the difference between people that take action and have success and those that don't. And, we had a little conversation, and he said to me, James, how's it going? How's the room feeling? What's the vibe you get? And I said, well, to be honest, David, there's a little bit of heaviness. There are people that are definitely looking like they're really alive and they're ready to take action. And there's a lot of people that are feeling heavy, that are feeling almost overwhelmed, and not as many people going to the back of the room and at least having a conversation as we'd have thought. And he said to me, well, what's important about that, James, is at this point there's no time for beating around the bush. There's no time for subtlety. And he said you've got to ask them, who here A, knows why they've come to this event, and B, who here has had a conversation, at least a conversation, with someone at the back of the room to find out A, what your opportunities are, and whether it's a yes or a no. And he said to me, for those that don't put their hands up, or for those that haven't had a conversation at the back of the room, and in his words, he said, if that's you, if you haven't had a conversation at the back of the room, then you're full of that you're fooling yourself. Because if you're coming to an event, or you're studying, or you're learning, and yet you're not willing to at least have a conversation with someone about how you can take everything that you're hearing and integrate it to the next level, then what are you doing here? And he's spot on, right? He's absolutely spot on. Because how can you expect people to ever invest in you? How can you expect anyone to invest in you to better themselves if you're not willing to invest in yourself to better yourself and your business? And so he encouraged me to have that conversation with them the next day. And of course, our language is very different. Right? Mine and David's language is very different. And, I thought, I'm going to have this conversation from my perspective and the way I feel called to do it. And so with love, I got down off stage and I asked how many people. I said, how many of you have been to the back of the room and had a conversation? And a few hands went up. And I explained to them, their opportunity to at least have a conversation was something that they owed themselves. And if they didn't do that, why were they here? I think one way I explained it, and I put to them, I said, if you're here just for inspiration and just to have connections and just to have fun, then I know plenty of concerts and movies and really great experiences that will have that effect on you. But I'm pretty sure that everyone in this room wants to do something in 2020, wants to take action that is above the action that they took in 2019, so that they can actually progress, so that they can be a higher version of themselves, and so that they can succeed. So I'm encouraging you all right now to go to the back of the room and have a conversation. And I even went to the point of walking up to people in the audience, some of the people that I knew how incredible they were. And I asked them, have you been to the back of the room? And if they said no, I stood them up and I walked them to the back of the room. And then I was trying to explain this, and I said to everyone in the room, I said, I'll be honest with you. I had this conversation with David Neagle last night, and he wanted to explain this to you in a slightly different way. I wasn't quite sure if you were ready to hear it in that way. And then I got an interesting response from the audience. They said, no, tell us. And I said, really? You want me to tell you how David wanted to hold you accountable for this action? You really want me to tell you? Do you think you can take it? And they said, yeah, tell us. So I said, okay. And I told them, and I used that language. And I said to everyone in the audience that if you haven't been to the back of the room and at least had a conversation at this point, then you are full of shit, that you might as well leave. Because if you're not going to take action, why are you here? And as you can imagine, there was an interesting reaction to that. Some people, I would say there was a split. Some people really lit up to that accountability because that's what they needed. And then there was another section that were kind of taken aback initially by that conversation, by that accountability. But I'll tell you now, a lot more people went to the back of the room.
I love that. And one of the things that you left out that I know David also said was, if you haven't gone to the back of the room and you're saying you want to change, well, you're full of and you might as well leave right now.
That's right. Because, if you're not going to take action, then why are you here? I mean, listen, it's great. There's amazing speakers. There's inspiration. You feel fantastic. But this isn't an opportunity to escape from your life, because you've got to, as you said, Emily, earlier, you've got to go back to your life. And the buzz and the amazing atmosphere and the bubble that you're in that room isn't the feeling that you get there isn't going to just last forever. If you can't create that kind of action taking and that kind of inspiration in the life that you go back to and take action, then you're just going to be in the same place again and again. I think it was Dr. James Rouse, another one of our amazing speakers there, who said, Monday morning when you go home, you are the DJ. You get to be the DJ and cultivate and create the theme tune for the rest of your life. And that's what David was talking about. Like, if you're not going to take action now, look at yourself.
Totally. And the reason why we wanted to share this with everyone listening today is really twofold. So we know that there's a lot of business owners who are listening to this podcast and people who are dealing with this same situation where you have something incredible to offer. And yet, for whatever reason, people aren't signing up or they're not taking advantage of the opportunities you're putting in front of them. And today we wanted to really illustrate how important it is to be obvious and to be bold and to be in service to what people are desiring. And by no means are we saying that our programs are right for every single perfect person on the planet. By no means are we saying that the mastermind is something that is available or something that everyone wants to move forward with. But we have tons of different opportunities, anywhere from something that's $47 a month all the way up to six-figure investments. So there truly is something for everyone. And it always blows our mind, number one, how subtle business owners are when it comes to what it is that they're selling. And they just expect that people are going to know all about what the opportunities are. And what we're saying here today, and what David eloquently stated, was that you need to be really obvious about what action you want people to take. And more importantly, what action is going to actually get them the results that they're saying that they want. And just like you just said, James, if people wanted to be entertained, they could easily go to a movie theater. They could have that experience. We're looking to create lasting change in people's lives. But that also means that you need to think about what that change is going to look like after the event is over.
I mean, I can't tell you the number of times that I've had conversations on the telephone with potential clients who, after that call, had no idea the extent of the opportunities that they were offering. They'd made assumptions about what was right for them or what was even available for them, which is why ultimately what we're saying is have the conversation at least. Just have the conversation. You're still the person that makes the decision. Right. And I think exactly. A lot of the time people are scared that there's going to be some voodoo magic and that they're going to be brainwashed into making a decision they don't want to make. Right. we're talking about having the discussion. And I know, Emily, you, a number of times, you've had an intention to work with someone or go to something that was a large investment. And rather than waiting for the opportunity to be perfect or waiting for the money to just be there in the bank, you've had the conversation and said, you know what? How can I make this happen? This is I know that this is something that's going to help me. And you've had the conversation with the person or the group to say, how can I make this work? And then you've made it work. And it's how many times has that happened in our life in the last few years where we've at least had the conversation and then we've invested in something that even a few days ago, we wouldn't have known how to make that work. And that's been the thing that's changed the business, changed our personal growth. It's changed everything.
Exactly. And that actually is a story I'm going to be sharing in the next episode. So everyone can tune in to what episode is it going to be? Episode 68, all about how to move past any hangups and fears when it comes to working with a coach. And that's the second reason why we're here today sharing this. So the first reason is for all of you business owners out there. It's the invitation to no longer be subtle and to be in service to your clients by being obvious about what it is that you're selling and supporting them and getting to that yes, or at least getting the clarity around whether what you're selling is right for them. And then the second reason is for everyone who doesn't go to the back of the room at events. And obviously that's metaphorical. One of the other examples that we gave from the stage was oftentimes people have desires that they're not even exploring. I can't tell you how many times people have said to me, oh, I want to take that trip. And then they don't even know how much it costs and they discount it before they even do the research. And this happens all the time. We have these desires and then we think, oh no, I could never do that. And we discount ourselves and we think that it's not available for us, but we never actually look. We never actually have the conversation. And so what we're teaching here today is that it's so imperative that you take advantage of opportunities that are presented to you. And again, like you said, James, it's not about voodoo. It's not about anyone talking anyone into anything. These are actual coaching conversations and sessions that will support people in going to the next level. And like I said, this is just one example, but I think we need to ask ourselves on a regular basis, are we taking full advantage of what's right in front of us? Or are we deciding that it's not available to us prematurely? Are we not trusting ourselves to follow through or to be able to handle the process? Are we actually scared of success? Are we scared of the next level? Like, what truly is it that's holding us back?
Yeah, it's a really, really, really good point. And I think that awareness is something to look into. And if anyone's listening to this and feels triggered and was like, you know, they know that there's been a point where they haven't taken action and maybe we're triggering you right now, you know, that's great. I think that feeling that emotion means there's something there. And I think it's really important to look at it and just say, I wonder why, if I was really honest with myself, I wonder why I didn't take action. You know, was I making some assumptions about the opportunity, or was I making some assumptions about what's possible for me? You know, getting clear on that is the most important thing you could ever do, because you know the decisions can be made in a moment, and sometimes those decisions are the decisions that change your life forever.
Yeah. And one of the things that Marla talked about at the event, Marla Mattinson, is the difference between being activated and being triggered. And so you just used the word trigger, James. And she shifted it to activated. And that's what we're always trying to do with our clients, is activate something in you. One of the key secrets to success is that awareness that James just talked about, which means that you are aware of when you're activated or triggered. You are aware of when something comes up for you that makes you feel uncomfortable. You're aware of those fears and insecurities, and you're willing to look at them and shift them. And one of the cool things about events in particular is the connection. And so I know that a lot of our team members got connected with our attendees, and you never know what doors are going to open. Even if you spoke to our coaches and you didn't end up working with us, you're now on their radar and you're now on our radar, and we are connected. And again, we can't discount how powerful that actually is, because we know that all of the speakers who are on our stage are people we've connected with through live events and through other relationships. And so again, you just need to think think about it in a way that's not linear. Think about it in a way that is expansive. Having a conversation, it wouldn't just be about moving forward with the program or getting coaching for yourself. It would be about so much more than that, and feeling fully supported by another human in terms of what your next steps actually are. And again, we never know what that's going to lead to.
Totally correct. And it's one of those things, maybe think about now, who do you need to be having a conversation with? What are those opportunities that you've been putting off because for some reason you're telling yourself the time's not right? Think about those, because they keep cropping up. And I know at the event, many people talked about, I think Emily, you mentioned it on stage, about that little feeling, that little tingly feeling you get. Those conversations that you should be having, because that tingly feeling keeps coming up.
Exactly. Yeah. And one other piece to that. So I think oftentimes when we voice things out loud and we share our dreams with other people, they become even more powerful, and we become even more sure than we were before we voiced them. And so just having a conversation and admitting to another human what it is that you want, and just saying, you know what, how can I make this happen? Can you give me some advice? Can you let me know what my opportunities are? It makes it that much more real. And I think so often we are playing small, and we're playing it very quiet and subtle. And one of the stories that I shared from the stage is the story of me going to Hallmark. And for anyone who knows me, I'm in love with stationery. We actually have some of our own stationery in the company. And my mom dropped me off, and I went to the back of the store, and I found all these note card sets. And one of them said at the very top, life's too short to be subtle. And so I'd encourage all of you today to live by that motto and ask yourself right now, as a business owner, are you being subtle when it comes to your sales? Are you being subtle in what you know is possible for your clients and what's going to help them get there? And are you, as a consumer or someone who wants to invest in something, are you being subtle about the conversations you're having? Are you not reaching out to those people who could help you? Are you playing small with the gifts that you know live within you? Are you allowing your fear to run the show instead of stepping into your greatness? Life is far too short to be subtle. And so we want to live it in a way that is obvious. We want people to notice what it is that we have available, to have those conversations, to know that they have the opportunity to be fully supported. And I know, James, I'll speak for myself, then you can chime in. I want to be someone who lives life out loud, for lack of a better phrase. And there's absolutely no time to be subtle with our gifts and our talents and what we're meant to do in the world.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you know, I've been guilty of this in the past, right? You know, having conversations with myself in my head rather than having the conversations there out loud. And Emily's spot on. Life is way too short. And I, for one, don't want to look back on my life with regrets about the action that I never took, even though it was screaming at me every single day. You know, that's how we gain courage, is we take the action that sometimes feels the scariest. And it's really, when you think about it, not that scary to ask a question. At least just ask a question, right? That's the stepping stone for you. And you realize that quite often we put so much fear on something that when we take the action isn't scary at all.
Exactly. Yeah. One of our clients, Katelyns from the stage, she talked about her experience having to go through a traumatic experience with her son when he was just a few months old, needing to have heart surgery. And she realized then and there that was something that was really scary. And everything after that, it just didn't have any weight in terms of fear. She realized that she'd been through the scariest thing in her life, and now she could handle anything. So we need to really transform our thinking around what is actual true fear and what is our mind just trying to keep us stuck.
Yeah, totally.
Awesome. Well, thank you for this conversation, James. We'll leave it there. I hope this inspires people on many different levels to really step up, step out, to shine, to speak their truth, and to have those important, honest conversations.
Awesome. Yeah, fantastic conversation. And we could talk about this all day, but we'll save some of the nuggets for the next one.
I hope you loved today's episode and that you loved the real talk experience. Like James said, maybe this activated you a little bit. If so, I ask you to do some journaling. Get really aware of what's coming up for you. What was it that was activated or triggered? And if you'd like to know more about working closely with us and getting huge results in your life and business, email us at info@iheartmylife.com. See you soon. Thank you for listening to the I Heart My Life show. For more inspiration, success tips, and ways to achieve your life and business goals, definitely follow me on Facebook and Instagram on I Heart My Life Now. See you next time.